Hi there, Zaid McKay from Align Designs. In this short video presentation, I'm just going to cover a very common question that I get asked, which is how much does a website cost in South Africa? Specifically, I'm going to clarify and demystify the three primary costs that you really need to consider when looking for a website for your business. And I'm also going to cover what is not included in those costs, because obviously there are additional services. There are literally tons of other services you could go for that kind of relate to the website, but would be separately costed to you. Okay. So I want to get that absolutely clear. My intention of this is to give my clients and potential clients absolute clarity and transparency so that they know exactly what they're going to be paying for moving forward. Okay. So first of all, I like to use a simple metaphor. Having a website is like owning a property in that there's three primary moving parts involved in the actual property. You've got the land. That's the actual physical space for you to work on, right? Then you've got your physical address. That's how people find you and locate you within an area. And you've got the actual house. So obviously once you've got your land and your address, then you can go ahead, find a builder or a construction company, and they will then build the house for you at a set rate or specific cost to you. Okay, so there's three entities involved there, or three costs involved. Okay, so how does this relate to your website? Well, hosting is like the space or the land, right? So the hosting specifically is the space on the internet. More technically, it's on a server, but I'm not going to get too into the technicality side of things. But just know it's the space that's allocated to you on the internet. Then you've got your domain name. Normally, you get that from the same place where you get your hosting. Your domain name is how people find you, and obviously we all are familiar with what a domain name looks like. Okay. And then lastly, a website. So the website is, you go to a web designer like myself, or any other company out there, and they will build a website for you at a certain rate. Okay. So there are three basic costs, which I'm going to simplify here for you further. Your hosting and domain is usually with one company or one entity, and then your web designer will charge you for the actual website creation. Remember, the building or the design of the house, so to speak, right? So with regards to hosting, there's a monthly fee, and then you've got an annual fee for the domain name, right, for your address. That's pretty common practice throughout the world. Then your web design fee is usually a once-off fee, because it's a once-off build, and you launch the website and that's it. Okay. Now, in terms of specific costing, the hosting in South Africa, we're looking at maximum 99 Rand per month for a simple website. Now, obviously, if you're looking at like an e-commerce website or a much more advanced website, like if you want to do like a Bidderbuy type website or an Amazon or an eBay or that kind of advanced websites, then obviously you might need bigger hosting packages. But for general small business, like I specialize in companies that are service-based businesses, so you're offering a service to your clients. I build websites for clients, for businesses like that. And in my experience, 99 Rand per month is at the high end. Personally, I recommend a hosting company based in South Africa that's been around for 20 years. And their hosting fee is 29 Rand a month. Okay, so that's pretty cheap. And also, most importantly, I'm going to cover now the three things that every hosting company must have if you're going to go search for your own hosting company. Okay, so anyway, so it's 99 Rand per month on the high end, and then there's a small fee, annual fee for the domain name, right? So there you're looking at about anything between 80 Rand and up. Could be 200 Rand depending on the domain that you go for. Now, if you're just looking for a normal .co.za domain name, then you're looking at about 100 Rand a year. Okay. Then the emails, the professional emails, that is included in your hosting package. Okay, that always comes with the hosting. Generally, you get multiple emails. You don't need more than one, really. You don't want to confuse things. And I help my clients to set that up as well. Okay, so the website. Then the costing with regards to website. Obviously, there's many factors. It's like if you go to a builder or construction company and say, look, I want a house built on my property, on my land. What will it cost? Okay, so are they just going to give you a figure, or are they going to say, okay, well, it depends. What do you want? What do you need done? Do you need, how many rooms do you want? What's the square meterage? What's the finishes that you would like? Is it, top end finishes or average finishes? Do you want, what kind of style of roof do you want? And there's so many things to consider when looking to build a house. And then that'll determine the quote or the end, the figure at the end of the day, and the cost involved. Okay. So my suggestion is to go to, a couple web designers, connect with them, and find out what they charge for exactly what you want, because everyone's different. Every business is different. You might want certain functionality that that other people don't want, etc. So there's many factors involved. Okay, so then the three things I mentioned to you now with regards to hosting. If you're going to go and look out for your own hosting company, that's fine, but make sure that these three things are in place, because if they're not in place, you're going to have headaches of note. I've been doing this now for about 4 years, and I've been searching non-stop for the best hosting I can find in South Africa, and these are the three things that you need to look out for to prevent frustration, to prevent anger to some degree, and to prevent wasting money. Okay, so the first thing you must have, if you look for a hosting, they must have SSL. They must have a SSL certificate with the hosting plan. Okay, so I'm not going to get too technical with that. All that means is that, let me just tell you like this: if you do not have an SSL certificate attached to your hosting and to your website, eventually what's going to happen is the browsers and the search engine are getting more and more strict about this, about having it. Eventually what's going to happen, if you don't have it, your website will be blocked. Okay, so in other words, users will come on, they'll be on their phone, they'll come and click on your link to see your website, but the browser is going to block you from seeing it. Okay, so because you do not have an SSL certificate. Okay, so what the SSL certificate does, it just tells the browser, tells the search engines that, hey, this website is a trusted, verified, safe website to view. Okay, that's all you need to know there. So just make sure that's included. If it's not included in the hosting package, how much is it extra? That's what you have to ask the hosting company. The second thing is outstanding support. So I've had situations where support was horrible. There was a problem with my one client, and with my client's hosting, the previous hosting before she came to me, and they they ended up, it took 6 months to sort out the issue. Now, I don't know about you, but having a website down for 6 months is not a good thing, and it's frustrating, and it's something I never want any of my clients to go through. So just make sure you have outstanding support. What I do is I test the web hosts. I go and send them support emails and all kinds of things before I sign up with them, and just to test their feedback, their response, how quickly their knowledge, and how quickly they get back to me, etc. The third thing you want to look for is you want to make sure that you own the hosting package. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, let me explain. This is quite an important thing. This is one major frustration and headache for a lot of my clients who come from previous hosting situations and previous web designers, is that they realize that they never owned their hosting, so they become hostage to their previous web designer. Let me explain what I mean. Okay, so either if your web designer can own your hosting. In other words, if you pay a web designer or web design company, if you pay them for hosting, okay, and they are then they've registered the hosting and the domain under their name, okay, then if it's on their name, then who actually owns your hosting and website? Okay, obviously them, because they have signed up under their name, right? So this is the worst option you can go for, because they control your online asset. They're in full control. They own it on their name, and you are fully dependent on them. So if any time you want to change web design, maybe you want to redesign a year from now, 2 years from now, you have to go with them, because the hosting and domains under their name. And secondly, if something happens to the web designer, let's say the web designer passes away or the company goes bust, and let's say there's no way for them to recover your details, then obviously you're going to have big problems. Okay, I've seen this happen with previous clients with their previous hosting and web design situation, and it's something that I do not ever want to happen to my clients. Okay, so the second option, which is recommended, is that you actually own your hosting and your actual website. Okay, so this is the best option. You're in full control of the online asset, of your online asset, sorry, and then you are completely independent, and you can choose to go to any web designer at any point. Okay, so this is the situation where you are paying the hosting company directly, and then you got full ownership. So you've got two options. The first option is to pay the web designer the hosting fee, which is similar to the situation here, but then you just got to make sure that your contract states that you are the actual owner of the hosting and the domain name, and that you can cancel at any time. Because if you weren't aware, all hosting is pay as you go. It's month to month. It's never ever a fixed contract ever. And unfortunately, some web designers rope clients into these fixed term contracts, which is just ridiculous. Okay, so anyway, then the second option, which is what I recommend, is that you pay the hosting company directly yourself, and it's actually recommended you have complete ownership, and it's quite easy to actually set up. In fact, I've got a video that shows you step by step how to set up with the hosting that I recommend. Okay, now there's also costs that are not included. Well, these costs over here are not included in the actual what I just explained to you with regards to hosting, domain, and websites. These are basically additional services. Okay, so the first thing is your actual website. There's ongoing things like maintenance, software updates, and that kind of stuff to do with the website. That's it's an additional service. Okay, so where this comes into play is, let's say you've launched the website, and now, like any other software, your website is built on software, right? So like your phone software, like apps, like everything else out there, it all is constantly being updated. Okay, so if you have updates on your website in the back end and you don't update it at any point, there is a potential that the website can malfunction, cannot function fully. Basically, there can be problems basically. Okay. So that's where that kind of maintenance and stuff comes into play. Then things that are not included is content updates like blog posts and that kind of stuff. And obviously also major design changes. That's not included in the fees we just mentioned now. Okay, after it's launched, you can't expect major design changes, because then it requires more time, which means more money, right? It's another service basically. Graphic design services, obviously logo design is not included in a web design fee. Online posters, business cards, flyers. I mean, I do all this graphic design for my clients, but it's after kind of the website is set up and they wanted extra services, then obviously I give it to them, right? And online marketing, that's also additional services. So things like advanced SEO. So just to clarify this misconception, a lot of people might think that if you launch a website, then all of a sudden it's going to get seen on the top of Google. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It takes once your website is launched, it's actually very low on Google. It's like non-existent, basically page 6 or 7 of Google, maybe further. And it takes work and effort in what's called SEO. It's specific tasks that they do, search engine optimization, certain things that optimize the website and the presence, and there's many things they do, including content marketing, to rank the website higher. Okay, and that takes effort and time, and that's why it's an extra charge. Social media management, paid advertising, video creation, all of these things are extra charges, extra time, extra effort. Okay, so these are additional services. I just wanted to clarify exactly what is included and what's not included, just so you have clear expectations. Then what I would recommend and consider is the website maintenance package for whichever web designer you choose to go with. That just makes sure that the security is in check, there's no malware and viruses and stuff, and that there's backups of your website, and of course the software updates that I mentioned before.